Welcome to This Week in 2016 Presidential Polls, where we look past the horse race to the numbers that really matter. Here's the polling news that you need to know for the week ending September 4th. Now, after a brief detour to the Iowa State Fair, we return to our regular format. A number of polls have come out over the past few weeks, and they all share a common thread. Voters are sick of politicians. Now, this sentiment is true in both parties, but it is especially pronounced among Republicans. GOP voters roundly reject the idea that the next president needs to have at least some level of government experience. In fact, more than 6 in 10 say that the country would be better off with a complete newcomer who can shake up Washington. Recent Monmouth University polls show this sentiment is shared by 66% of Iowa Republicans, 61% in South Carolina, and 67% nationally. And this explains Donald Trump's staying power at the top of the pack. Now, the conventional wisdom would have us believe that at some point the voters will coalesce around another Republican, and eventually most Republicans will reject Donald Trump. However, as with most things in this race so far, the conventional wisdom is wrong. When pitted in a head-to-head matchup with the guy who was supposed to be the front runner, Trump trounces Jeb Bush by 19 points. Well, how about Scott Walker, the no-nonsense governor who successfully took on the unions and has the battle scars to prove it? Nope. Trump beats him by 15 points. Surely Republican voters would prefer the conservative firebrand Ted Cruz over Trump. At least this guy's a senator. Well, it's a little closer this time, but Trump still has a 7-point lead in this matchup. John Kasich, Carly Fiorina, Rand Paul, Chris Christie, Marco Rubio. Every one of these candidates comes up on the losing end in a head-to-head match with Donald Trump. That is, every candidate except for one. The only candidate in the crowded Republican field who gets the better of Donald Trump is retired neurosurgeon Ben Carson, who holds a 19-point edge in this GOP Fantasy League playoff. Now, we don't necessarily believe that these results will hold into the spring. However, it says a lot about the state of the Republican electorate that the non-politician who's currently leading the field can only be beaten by another non-politician. Now, if you watched our video from 2 weeks ago, you'll understand why Ben Carson is surging. The question right now, though, is can the elected officials who are in this race win back the hearts and minds of Republican voters? We'll have to stay tuned for that one. And so those are the highlights and lowlights of This Week in 2016 presidential polls. Until next time, I'm Patrick Murray from the Monmouth University Polling Institute.